Well, hello everybody. This is a special edition of Get Real with Rick Dancer. I understand you guys have a little snowstorm or an ice storm in the Willamette Valley. I have a son who lives in Portland and he has 4 trees on his house. So I thought, I don't know that much, but Bill Lundun does from KPNW. So our sponsor tonight, Chris Dental. Caring and trusted Dr. Michael Bratlin, who gives every patient his cell phone number. How crazy is that? And he believes in your civil liberties and your dental health. He'll take care of your dental health so you can take care of your civil liberties. That's the way it works with Dr. Bratlin. So let's get Bill Lundun on here. So Billy,
Hi.
I understand because you live in the Corvallis area that you're like sleeping. You're sleeping at KPNW on the couch.
Not on the couch. Actually, I'm in my makeshift bedroom. Here, I'll show it to you.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, there we go. That's
So
that's where I'm sleeping. There's
I
this right here is the bag of clean clothes that I was going to put on after I got a shower across the street yesterday, and I got over there and I was so happy because for the first time in a couple of days, I was going to take a hot shower. I turned the shower on and it was just barely dribbling. And it
no,
was
because
and yes, the shower has prostatitis. It's just the smallest of dribbling. You couldn't even wash your hands underneath it. It was
I can totally relate to that as a 64-year-old male.
it's just like, oh man, it totally crushed me. I was so
So
looking forward to the shower, and it's just like, oh well,
so
crap.
have you've been just living and breathing this stuff since when?
Uh, Sunday afternoon.
Wow. So tell me what's the situation? So I've had all kinds of people writing me with questions. I mean, I looked on the Camp Creek Facebook page, and it looks
Mhm.
like a war zone out there.
Looks like that everywhere.
Really,
Yeah. Um, Springfield is an absolute disaster area.
really.
Eugene, there are areas of it that it's just utter carnage. So what happened was, so we get this ice storm last Friday night, and into Saturday morning. And I got up, I don't know, it was like 8 o'clock or something, and I wander out on the front porch and I'm thinking to myself, oh, look, it snowed. So I had to do what I always do when it snows. I go out to my car to scrape some snow off, make a snowball, and toss it at the mailboxes. And it's 3 inches of what looks like snow that is actually just rock hard ice.
Wow.
And it covered the roads, it covered the houses, it covered the trees, the plants, everything. I got in the car. I decided Sunday that I was going to try to fight myself in before, I wanted to get there before it got dark because I didn't know what the highway was going to be like Monday morning, trying to commute at, the crack of, oh my God. So I drove in and everything, it was very slick on 34, but okay. Got on I-5, everything was fine. I'm traveling south. I'm thinking this is great, pretty much doing the speed limit. Everybody else is, it's fine. And about the Harrisburg exit, everything went to utter hell.
Really?
And slick, uh, semi is jackknifed in the median on the side of the road, cars spun out, spinning out. At that point, traffic was traveling probably about 10-ish miles an hour.
And that's on the interstate in Oregon.
Yeah, that is south of the Harrisburg exit on I-5.
Wow.
And it was like that all the way into Eugene, the Delta, or I-105, because I come, take I-5 to I-105, hop onto I-105, follow it in towards the Valley River Center, take the ramp off onto the Delta, which was even worse, and finally got to the radio station. And there had been power outages that had been going on throughout, starting, I guess it was mostly Saturday morning, but they were, with a couple of exceptions, limited in scope. And what I mean by that, at the time, I think eWeb had something like 5,000 customers that were out. And that number would go up and down over a couple of days. They would get some on, and a few more trees would come down and take out some lines. Um, Springfield was considerably worse, but not as bad as things ended up yesterday.
What happened
And
yesterday?
well, what happened yesterday was that about noon, uh, a wet system came through, and the temperature outside was about 27 degrees. The expectation was that it was going to come down as freezing rain, but it didn't. So what you had was just plain rain that was coming down, and the rain was warm. And when it would hit the pavement, it would kind of melt it a little bit, and then it would freeze over in a solid glaze. The trees, of course, hitting the ice on the trees immediately froze, added even more weight to the trees. And by, oh, I don't know, 6 o'clock last night, what was 3,000 customers out for eWeb had gone to about 7,000. And then by about 10 or 11 o'clock last night, it had gotten up to about 19,000. And then this morning, when I got up, it was 26,000 customers.
That's just eWeb. So
That's just eWeb.
that's
So,
east of Springfield, out in Camp Creek. We were eWeb,
right,
and then you've
exactly.
got all of Eugene. So Springfield's on Sub. How is Sub doing?
Not very well. What happened? It's well, according to, and I've talked to Sub a couple of times today. The storm yesterday took out the backbone of the grid. And we're talking about the BPA transmission lines, um, a lot of poles for about a 2 mile stretch fell down in the area right near Main Street. Uh, Thurston had been pretty much without power. That took even more lines down. And so what's been happening since Saturday was power crews have been out to all the areas down here. I mean, you've got all of the main Lane Electric, Sub, EPUD, the Pacific Power, eWeb, Blotchley Lane. They've all been out trying to deal with this. And what happened, the progress that they'd made yesterday afternoon, it was all of the progress that was made was wiped out, and then more problems on top of it. At right now, Sub is saying that they don't expect to have the power on in Springfield to be able to start re-energizing the areas that are out until, well, next Wednesday.
What? A
Yep.
week from
Yes.
today?
Yes. And I'm going to just throw a little bit more into that. Today in I think it was about 11 o'clock or 10:30, they, because of the power outages and stuff, they lost some pressure in the water system, which means that about half of Springfield is under a boil water notice now. And the question is, how do you boil water if you don't have any power? And the
Right.
answer is, if you got propane, do that. Otherwise, get bottled water if you can find it.
Thank God we still have natural gas, huh?
Yeah, I have said that a few
I wonder if
times.
the Eugene City Council is running around with their tail between their legs, going, maybe you better not be cutting off energy sources when we need stuff like this. What's it doing to schools? Sandra Lynn on here wants to know, how's it impacting the schools?
There aren't any.
It's like COVID again.
Yeah. No, every school in Lane County, in every school district, every charter school, every private school, they're all closed. The University of Oregon closed, OSU closed up in Corvallis, all the Benton County schools closed, Oregon State University campus, all of the campi for Lane Community College, Lynn Benton Community College, Bushnell, Pacific. There is not a school that's open in Lane County. What's really interesting, you get just across, just like, oh, I don't know, 3 or 4 miles south of Cottage Grove, everything's dandy.
I remember that from another ice storm we had when I lived there. It was like, but I think at the time, even Cottage Grove it was just the way the valley sits like
Mhm.
that. And
And
so Roseburg is fine, and
oh yeah, and the only school district that's been affected by this in Douglas County was Yoncalla, which, as you well know, is not all that far past Cottage Grove. Cottage Grove has been completely dark since Saturday.
so when did they think eWeb? You talked about Springfield, so that's Springfield Utility Board could be next Wednesday before everybody has their power on. What about eWeb?
They won't say.
Because I've had a lot of emails from people going, "Why don't they have enough crews?" So that now you're explaining that is because this just keeps getting worse and worse. That the outages are just
Right.
not going.
So, one of the interesting things is all of these smaller utilities don't have a whole lot of crews, because if you have crews, when they're not working, you still have to pay them. And so, they have smaller crews than, say, Pacific Power, which has an army of crews. What's happening is that they're hiring contract crews that are coming in, and also different utility districts. And this is for all of the utilities that are down here that I mentioned earlier. They're getting in. Well, we've got crews that are coming down from Tacoma, Washington. We've
Wow.
got and further south, crews coming in from Tillamook. I'm just trying to remember all of them off the top of my head, but they're kind of coming in from all over the place, trying to come up and help. One of the things a lot of people have been complaining about, the clearing of the roads, all of the downed trees in the roads, and how long it's taken to get the stuff cleared. Part of the thing is that the public works crews, in particular in Eugene and also uh, Springfield, they're out actually working on site with the utility crews to help clean stuff up
So they can
and
get
clear
those.
the way so they can get in and do the job of trying to get poles back up, get lines back up, reset transformers and all the good stuff that goes along with that. Just about every one of the utilities that I mentioned to you have all lost their main feeders to Bonneville Power.
Wow. So Elizabeth says Cresswell's mostly without power. The 76 gas station is on a generator pump
Yeah.
gas, and Bimart is on a generator and open. So
hmm
how many do you have any idea, like in Lane County, how many people are without power?
Probably well over 100,000.
100,000.
Probably
And it
well over that. If you
and
if
it's
you
not
look at if you look at right now, last I looked, 23,000 was the number, that we were almost 24,000 customers without power. That's just eWeb. And you figure, okay, a customer, that's like, okay, at my house, that's 3 people. In some people's, that's 4 people. So you take that, you look at Springfield, which has thousands of customers without power. You factor into it Cottage Grove, Cresswell, all the outlying areas, Veneta,
McKinsey
Junction
Ridge.
City, Harrisburg, and you've got to be in excess of 100,000 people.
And so is it starting to warm up at all? Because I mean, that
Yeah,
was
yeah. It's starting to warm up. We're right now about 40 degrees. We got finally hit 33 degrees last night at about midnight. Um,
but you
but
know what sucks? It's just like to be without power, because we did this for a week a few years ago, and there's that big snowstorm we had trees go down in Camp Creek. We didn't get the power on for a week, and it was all we had was propane stove and a propane fireplace. So I get up in the morning, run out there, turn them on, and then go back to bed, and then wait, and then you go out there and you'd stand by them and have your coffee, and it sounds really romantic for about an hour. And then after 4 days and 5 days, I'm sure people are just fit to be tied.
well, they are. It's and then there were people that were not prepared for this. And when Safeway opened up in Cottage Grove, I guess it was like the Oklahoma land rush yesterday, and they cleared everything out, bottled
Really?
water, bread, frozen foods, all the meat. And then uh, Bimart opened up a little bit later, and it was a rush there. And then the last one to open up was Walmart on generators. And it was funny because we must have gotten a dozen emails. Walmart is open. They have bread. And my
Don't
understanding,
loaf. Don't
yeah,
loaf. Get down there.
yeah. And my understanding was they got cleaned out. You couldn't find propane to save your life. And I know that one of our listeners up in or down in Cottage Grove, they were realized that they were going to lose all the food in their freezer. So the guy sent his wife around to knock on all the neighbors' doors to come over to his place. He fired up the propane grill and fed everybody breakfast this morning, all you could eat.
Cassie Quimby says, yeah, they all came to drain, cleaned out, raised, no bread, no eggs, super low on milk. So how are you guys operating? You on a generator there at the radio station?
Our area, surprisingly, we have not lost power. Almost everything to the south, east, and north of us have, and a portion to the west, but this little enclave right here hasn't. And the only thing that I can chalk it up to is that there are no above ground lines over in this particular area.
So for people that don't know, Bill's over by in the Darth Vader buildings over by Valley
Close to
River
there.
Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, close to that area. So that it sounds like Valley River Center might be.
Right.
Don't tell people they'll be camping. Oh, it's warm at Valley River Center. Everybody's like has a big camp out there.
Yeah. And some of the restaurants over there have opened. Texas Roadhouse has been open. Elmer's has been open. Um, you know, the
So
it's been hit and miss.
conceivably, this could be another week from today before it's better for most people. So slowly people will start coming on, but it's going to be slow, isn't it?
Oh, very slow. Well, you've got essentially they spent several days doing all the work to have it undone in an afternoon and then multiplied um, on top of that. And I mean, we still have, I mean, just in our parking lot alone, uh, earlier this morning, we had a tree go down in our parking lot. And it's just as, and if we get the winds that are forecast with 30-mile-an-hour gusts, it's going to be carnage.
When is that supposed to hit?
Well, it's supposed to hit anytime between now and sometime later on this evening.
Julie,
Fortunately, it hasn't, and fingers crossed that it doesn't. And I hope that the Weather Service is wrong.
Julie writes in and says the governor declared a state of emergency for Lane County. Is that true?
Yeah, the Lane County Board of Commissioners last night at 5 o'clock voted unanimously to declare a county emergency, but it has to then be, I guess, if you will, certified by the governor to allow them to get state funding, to allow them to go after federal funding and the like. And one of the stipulations is they have to be able to prove that there's over $2 million worth of damage that has been done by a particular event to be able to make the declaration. And then, of course, like I said, then the governor has to okay it. And it was last night verified or certified by the governor. But yes, and there were a couple of other counties too. I think it was Washington County, and I can't remember the other ones off the top of my head.
Terry says that the wind's hitting right now in the hills of Elkton.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we've had areas of 126 closed from just west of Bonita almost all the way out to Mapleton, and it's all been down trees and lines. Same goes with Highway 36 out of Junction City. And those areas have been really hard hit. The thing is, you can find out pretty easily when a highway's been closed, when I-5's been closed, but you have all of those other roads and arterials like Territorial that run off of that. And as the calls were coming in this morning, hey, Lawrence Street, oh, I can't get through on Territorial. I mean, you don't even hear about that stuff. So it's a lot worse than just, 126 is closed for 30 miles.
Thomas says he lives east of Cottage Grove, and they're looking at a possible 10 days without power.
That doesn't surprise me. He may be on what, Lane Electric?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, they have been.
That's a long time. I mean, that's miserable. Because what I think people don't understand in the city, especially don't understand about people in the country is in the city when the power goes off, you still usually have water. Um, but in the country, when the power goes off, you have this thing called a well, and it runs on a thing called electricity. And when you don't have electricity, you don't have water, you don't have light, you don't have heat. So there's a lot of people living in rural Lane County that are really probably suffering.
A lot of people living in a lot of places that are really
Yeah.
suffering. I mean, even
How's the
in
South Hills and all that area?
pretty much carnage.
Yeah, I would imagine. So Bill, what's how do people find out more? So you guys, Bill is at KPNW 590 AM on your dial.
No,
Um,
1120 KPNW.
1120. I listen to 590 here, which is that radio station in Montana. Sorry. So 1120 KPNW, and you're
Mhm.
doing this. How are you there, like giving updates? Because I think there's nothing more frustrating. I remember Kathy and I sitting there. You call the eWeb line, nobody answers. Nobody answers because they can't. But then you have no idea when this is going to be over, and you're just that's the hardest part is not knowing. I think.
Right. Um, we ran the show longer than usual this morning. Normally, we'd be off the air at 9, and we just continued on for quite a while. We're doing reports at the top and the bottom of the hour. Some of them are going on for 10 to 15 minutes, depending on what there is to update. So that's been going on and will go on, probably the rest of today. I'm hoping that I might be able to get back to Philomath for at least a few hours, if not overnight tonight, just to sleep in my own bed and get a shower. But we've been doing top and bottom of the hour, fairly extended broadcasts all day long.
Okay.
So we're trying to keep up on it. That's one thing that I will say is that a lot of these utilities are using social media and the internet to try and get the word out, which is all fine and good
If you have internet.
if you have internet. That's one of the other problems. Internet's gone down. We've had areas where cell coverage has gone down. Um, if you don't have power, good luck firing up your computer.
Yeah.
And if you don't have cell coverage, well, you're not going to be able to get on your smart device and find out what's going on. And I think, after this, that there may be a number of these agencies and utilities that might rethink the way that they're trying to get their information out.
Yeah, I saw a lady on the Camp Creed page saying, "Thank God I got Starlink because she was watching TV, she had internet, the whole bit." So
Mhm.
somebody on here said, Cassie, I think that's how it's Quimby said, "Yes, we really appreciate the longer show this morning. Thank you, Bill."
Oh, you're welcome.
So people are looking for information, so find a way to get to 1120 KPNW and watch it there. And oh my gosh, I did talk to Dr. Bratlin when I told him I was going to do this show with you, and he
Mhm.
said, "Well, I'm opening tomorrow because I've been closed for 2 days and I need to get back to work." So apparently, if you have an appointment with Dr. Bratlin, don't use your cell phone number that he gives everybody. Just show up for your appointment and he'll be there. So, is there anything I haven't asked you, Bill?
Well, not that I can think of. I mean, we pretty much covered everything. I think what's coming down the line, um, and I'm really interested to see how this works out. Is there's going to be a lot of insurance claims.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of insurance claims, and I think too there may be a little bit of a discussion with not only our utilities, but the city of Eugene, which has a number of requirements that if you put a building in, you have to have so many trees on it at so far a distance apart, and you are given a choice of the type of trees you can grow. Well, most of those trees are down, and if they're not down, they've broken off. And I'm beginning to wonder because I know in other states when they've had situations like this, that the spring after, and I think North Carolina is one that comes to mind. The utilities went out and literally cut every tree down that was along their power lines. I mean, how many times are we going to
Right.
go through this? I mean, this is deja vu. This is just the worst case of deja vu.
Right. I remembered like anything when this happened the last time, and it was, the same. But we were a week, and it was the same thing. I think the other thing that cities, especially Eugene, needs to look at is, what's the only heating source most people have if they don't have a generator right now?
Mhm.
Propane and natural gas. So what in the hell are you looking at getting rid of something like that for? You need to rethink your social stand, because the reality of it is, that's the only thing that works when the electricity goes out.
Well, that and wood stoves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the other thing they control. Yeah, you're right. I mean,
Mhm.
I guess it's a big eye opener, but you hope that they keep their eyes open long enough to not shut them and go back to daydreaming again.
Well, it's not daydreaming, it's virtue signaling.
Yeah, it's complete virtue signaling. And in a state, the other thing it really does remind you of, you sit here because, being in Montana, we're not dealing with this, but I'm watching. It's breaking my heart
Excuse
watching
me.
my friends and online and stuff. And you go, could you imagine how easy it would be to take out the United States, just destroy the power grid? That we have got to figure out, when things happen. This shows our vulnerability, really, because we have no internet. We have, if you took out a whole area, they'd have no communication with people whatsoever.
Yeah, and I mean, we've become very, very dependent on digital technologies, which aren't exactly as hardened as the old systems of that we had in the past. And I mean, today I can't tell you how many people were calling us like, I've never listened to your radio station before, but you're the only people on that are doing anything. It's like, and we're doing it the old-fashioned way. Radio never went away. It's just the
Right.
airwaves, kids.
Right.
Um, it's Yeah, there's
When you
definitely a weakness here. And when more and more of the emergency service and emergency communications go to digital, internet, and the like, I honestly believe the more vulnerable that we are.
Yeah, I think people need to contact, next time these issues come up, get involved and contact somebody. Um, well, Bill, there's a ton of other questions I'd ask you about other things, like, hey, have you seen how the media is covering Trump's big win in the Iowa caucuses? But that would just get us into a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
Thank
You
you
know,
for doing. Go ahead.
no,
Make a smart
I was
comment.
just going to say, yeah, the Iowa caucuses happened, and which was what, Monday, Tuesday? I don't know. What day are we?
We're on Wednesday.
Wednesday, and they happened, and at one point in the evening, was just going quickly through my news feed, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, the caucus was today. Oh, Trump won. Okay." I was I'm so I'm s I'm so stuck with this other stuff. It was just one of those, "Oh, it's just like a passing thought."
You got your own storm to deal with.
Right.
Well, the vice president was on The View today, so there's a whole headline for you.
And,
The big
the thing
news.
is, she is one of the few people that can make herself look horrible when she's sitting there having a conversation with people that adamantly support her. She's It's like, how do you manage to screw that up?
Well, she did. She just made the comment that she's very worried if the president becomes the president again, not Biden, but the other one. So you'll
Oh,
have to look at the headlines when you get time. You don't have time now. Heather says she lives in West Eugene, had no power, no propane, no or generator. She's boiling water with candles and oven racks. That's creative.
I like
Well,
I like her. I don't know if she's married or not, but if it's just, she's got a boyfriend or, somebody that's maybe engaged, that's a keeper.
yeah,
She's a keeper.
she's smart
She's
and
she's yeah,
romantic at the same time.
right. All right, let's boil some water over candles. I love it.
Wink, wink.
I love
All
it.
right. London, KPNW, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
All right. Well, you
All
have a
right.
great rest of your evening.
All right. Go get us some sleep. See you later.
All right. Take care.
Bye. All right. Again, Bill Lundun. So you guys, if you have access to radio on there, KPNW 1120, Bill is keeping people up to date with what's going on. And honestly, I mean, I will say this with no apprehension at all. He's the only guy in the market in Eugene area, Springfield, I'd say in Western Oregon, who is a real newsman and does real news and really contacts people and gets the latest information. I would trust anything he said. And he's going to get whatever. And he asks the same questions you and I ask, which is what a good news person is all about. Doesn't regurgitate, which is what most news people do today. There's been a special show provided for you for Dr. Michael Bratman, Chris Dental. He will be open tomorrow. He's the dentist who cares about news, cares about information, cares about freedom, cares about your civil liberties, and he cares about your dental care. He'll take care of your dental care so that you can take care of your civil liberties. I'm Rick Dancer. Share this on your page so other people who may not know what's going on will know. We'll talk to you guys later. I have some really great podcasts. If you're new to our show, we are airing broadcasts every Thursday. They go live at 6 o'clock Montana time. That's 5 o'clock your time. This week, I have a gentleman whose 2 young sons drowned, and the story of his redemption and the life is just absolutely amazing. So he's from La Grande, Oregon. That goes on tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. And then I've got the following week, the bearded social worker out of Enterprise, Oregon. He and I talk about what he's seen since COVID in terms of mental health in rural Oregon. In fact, probably one of the most rural sections of Oregon, Wallowa County. So we're going to talk about that. So all kinds of stuff going on. And check out our website, rickdancer.com, where I'm on TikTok. We do lives on TikTok. It's 5 o'clock Mondays and Wednesdays. So that's coming up tonight on Wednesday. And those are super fun. And also on Discord. You can find me on Discord as well. All right. Talk to you guys later. See ya. Bye-bye.